Welcome back. Chef Marvin and Dr. Akua Woolbright here with you with another, I'm going to say wonderful recipe. I'm just going to say that.
Well, what are we cooking?
Pot pie.
What are you cooking?
Pot pie.
Pot pie. And this is one of my favorites, actually.
Yes.
I just love a pot pie. It's savory, it's hearty, it's warming to the soul. So what type of pot pie are we making?
Very good question, because you know I always have to do something a little bit different.
Yes.
Cocoa bread is the crust.
It's not like from the Caribbean.
Jamaica, baby. We're going reggae style today.
On the pot pie.
On the pot pie.
Okay, so tell me about that. Why?
So cocoa bread, if you've never gone to Jamaica, you have to go to Jamaica just to eat.
Yes.
It is the bread of the country, and it's made with coconut flour, as you can imagine, but also coconut milk. It's got a little hint of sweetness to it. But I was like, you know what? This could work on a pot pie.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited because I would just love to see all the different things you're going to do with it. So, when I looked at this recipe,
Right.
It's a long recipe.
It is.
And it could feel intimidating to people, and we
point.
always talk about, you guys taking this information and actually applying it at home. When I talk about lifestyle changes, one of the things I like to say is the power is in the doing. It's not enough just to hear it, but you have to implement it.
I agree.
So what do you tell people when they look at a recipe and it seems daunting? How should they approach it?
Woosah. Breathe. Relax. Just that's it. Right? So cooking is, especially when we're talking about savory food. Now, with this recipe, we are going to delve into baking, but savory food is something that it's a practice. So you see a recipe, you do the recipe, it may not come out like it looked in the book or whatever. It's okay. Start again. Do it over. Like if you like the recipe, do it over. Figure out what you did wrong. And that's how you get better at cooking.
And you were saying before that this is an opportunity for you to learn.
That's
so
right.
Even if the recipe didn't turn out perfect,
Right.
you learned something.
Exactly.
And you're further along in your culinary journey.
Exactly. And then you just adjust it the next time.
Yes.
That's how you get good at cooking. So many people love to cook or hate to cook, and it's based off the same thing. They had a hit. It's like playing golf,
Right.
right?
Yes,
You play 18
exactly
holes,
right.
you have one good hit, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're coming back.
That's exactly
But
it.
it's also like, oh my gosh, like I can't hit the ball straight.
And I love what you mentioned that you can easily make adjustments.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe go with less salt and add more later.
That's exactly
or you
right.
did too much sweet. You can counter it.
That's
you
right.
can fix it.
That's right.
So don't be afraid
Don't
to
be
play with
afraid.
your food and take some risk in the kitchen. And I think a pot pie is a great place to start because in the end, it's going to be so enjoyable, but
Yes.
you'll be happy that you did. Now, something else I want you to say,
Go ahead, what?
talk about,
Yes, ma'am.
is I know you like to have fun in the kitchen.
All the time.
So what are some things you do to set your mood when you're cooking?
So normally I have music playing, but because of copyrights, we don't have music playing that I would be playing. But that, and then, a little glass of wine
Yes.
goes a long way.
Yes.
Now, for those who can't mix wine and cook at the same time, I get it. We don't want you operating knives, etc. But nice glass of wine, for me, it would be red.
I like that. I like the wine, music for me, incense.
Yes.
Just something to
Yes,
bring
use
the whole
incense.
mood
That's right.
together. Not looking at cooking like a chore,
It's not.
like a task.
It's not.
But a time for you to practice self-care.
Yep.
And maybe have some alone time and just have fun with the process.
That's a good point. A long time.
alone time.
Or, I mean, if you're doing it with a family member or whatever, that's cool too.
That's
but
also fun.
But it's that quality time.
That quality time. So I love that. I love that you mentioned family time. You can do it with kids.
Yep.
You can do it with your spouse partner, and just have fun with cooking and just enjoy the process of eating and
Enjoy.
trying new foods.
Yep.
So chef, I'm gonna let you get at it.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Cool.
you.
See you in a little bit. Okay, so the first thing you got to start with is the pot pie crust, and that's the cocoa bread that I talked about. So you see these lovely dishes. This is what we're going to end up baking them in, and the trick with making a good pot pie is when you make your crust, you actually pre-bake the bottom so it doesn't become dough. We'll come back to that, don't worry. They're gonna sit there. Over here we go. Now, so I talked about coconut flour, and I'm going to mix it with cassava flour. You can use all-purpose flour. Once again, recipes are on the website, so you don't have to worry. But I actually put, when I'm building out the recipe, You can use rice flour, you can use cassava flour, you can use all-purpose flour. It's really up to you, but the cocoa nut flour is the one that you can't go without. All right, so I have everything out, pre-mixed. And this is a rise type of bread, meaning I'm going to use yeast. Now, so let me show you how we do that. So this is measured out. The temperature of the water needs to be from 110 to 115 degrees, all right? Hopefully you have a thermometer in your kitchen, and you temp your water first, and then you add it to your yeast, and you let it sit for 10 minutes, and then it's gonna activate, all right? So let's do that. Now, I'm gonna grab some hot water. I'm gonna use my thermometer to temp it. Perfect. I'm going to add a little bit of this water to my yeast, and then I'm just gonna add this back to this bowl. Now, mix that in. Let that do its thing. 10 minutes later, we'll be adding that to our mixture. Now, in here, an egg. I'm just gonna beat that up just a tad. I have coconut milk. I'm gonna make a center and add my liquid to the center, and then stir. And I didn't add it all at the same time. I added a little bit at a time. Add a little bit more. Pinch of salt. Okay. And then the rest of our ingredient goes in, which is our yeast. So you just make sure it's all incorporated. Now, I'm using this spatula right now, but I'm definitely going to be using my hands in a second. And we're going to put this on our countertop. And I'm going to get in here now, bring it all together. So, same flour that I added in the mix, we're going to dust with. So, we dust the surface so it doesn't stick. And it actually should be fanned out a little bit more than that. All right. So really what we're doing now is just making sure all the ingredients are together. This dough forms a nice ball because once it's all incorporated, we will let it rest for about half an hour, 20 minutes to let the yeast take effect. How do you know when it's ready? It won't be as wet. You can push it. It should be firm. There we go. So we're gonna just let that sit for room temperature, 15, 20 minutes. We'll come back and we'll put it in our dish. But as you know, I've already made some ahead of time, so our dishes are ready to go. So I'm gonna jump right to cutting our vegetables and start building our inside for the chicken pot pie. After I clean my hands, of course. We have some very, very lovely vegetables going in this pot pie. This, my friends, is a butternut squash. Love butternut squash. Acorn squash. Love acorn squash. Parsnip. Love parsnip. You can kind of say I'm a root vegetable kind of guy because I love these three bad boys right here. not traditionally in your pot pie. Okay. The other ingredients, onions, celery, peppers, carrots, you know, they're in there usually. Some garlic, of course. Edamame, not normally in your pot pie. You'll see peas. I'm not a big fan of peas. Okay, so we got some really fun vegetables that we're gonna put in here, and let's start building our mixture. A little bit of avocado oil. Now, microplane. Hopefully you've seen this before. If not, it is a very simple and easy device to use, and that's what it does. Pureeing without having to use a chef knife. So I love this device because it breaks down the ingredient. It's safe, like you can rub your hands across it. It's not gonna cut you. It makes it quick. And so if you're cooking with, say, a young person, this is a task that you can give them to do. Hey, you know what? We need some minced garlic. Pull the microplane out. Now, it's not just for garlic. I use it for ginger. I use it for nutmeg. I can use it for onions. It has a varied of use. Now, when I work with carrots, I do two different things. Sometimes I peel the carrot, sometimes I don't. In this case, I'm not gonna peel the carrots. Here's the reason why. My finished product, you're not gonna be able to tell if the carrot has been peeled or not. In the peels, there's always more nutrients and vitamins. So if I can leave the peel on, I leave it on. And in this case, we're leaving it on. I'm just gonna do a rough cut. Now, if you've never seen a beautiful, I told you I had some beautiful vegetables in this. This is a purple carrot. If you've never seen a purple carrot, this, my friends, is what it looks like. So, color. We eat with our eyes, right? Color first. So I'm gonna throw my carrots in, I'm gonna throw my onions in, and because this is essentially a one-pot stew, it's going to cook for a little bit. We're gonna add all the vegetables at the same time. So you're gonna see me just cut and dump for the next few moments. This is bell pepper. And I'm gonna crank the heat up a little bit because I wanna get a nice saute on this. All right, let's go with one of the bigger veg. And awkward. So, put it down flat. You always wanna work on a flat surface. You always need a sharp knife. I go to the middle, push down. Now I have another flat surface. Now, you could use a peeler. To me, it takes a little bit longer. Or you can use the tip of your knife and just insert in and go down. And before you know it, you're halfway through. And before you know it, you're done. All right, one more piece. There you go. That goes to the side. I cut 1, 2, 3. I cut 3 round discs. Cut strips. Turn it and create a box, AKA dice. That's how you do it. Dice in there, okay? Now, what didn't I put in there yet? Onions. Let's throw some onion in it. I always keep the peel of the onion, use it for my stock. Put it on the side, come back to it later. Cutting the onion, cut slits in it this way, and then go down. And I'm trying to keep all the vegetables around the same size. That way they cook consistently and evenly. Okay. Garlic, onion, butternut squash, yellow pepper, celery. Gotta have celery in a pot pie. I will cut the celery lengthwise, just down the middle. Just like that. Move this onion so you can see what I'm doing. Now, line it up. Now, if you're new to the kitchen, I don't expect you to work this fast. Don't want you to work this fast. Acorn squash, same approach. It's awkward. How do you get it from rolling, putting yourself in harm's way? You find the flattest area. Put it on the flattest area. Put your knife in. Okay, now it's flat. Turn it down this way. Now it's flat again, so I can turn it up. Tip of the knife. That's the key. This skin is a little bit more firmer than even the butternut squash. So again, if you don't feel comfortable using your knife, you could use a peeler. It's just gonna take you a little bit longer, but you'll get there. This is when that music comes into play. You know, you listen to your favorite songs and you're just moving about the job. So you want to get all this off. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but there are some seeds. Very simply, reach your hand in, scoop it out. Put that over there. Now, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the butternut squash. I'm going to cut a couple discs. Now, because this is halved, one cut, and you have your dice. All right. Now, a little bit of stir. I'm gonna crank my heat up a little bit because it's going a little bit slow. And I'm going to let this cook for, call it about 10 minutes. And we will add our rice milk. I'm gonna show you how to build a slurry to thicken it. And then we're gonna go into our cups. So, oh, we love that sound. It's all those flavors working together. All right, we're gonna let this cook for a little bit and we'll see you in a second. Let's stir the veg and see what we're looking at. Oh yeah, starting to come together. What do I mean? Look at this. So, still has a little bit of give, but it's a little bit of soft. All right, little give, little soft. It's perfect. Now, it's time to build the rest of this wonderful dish. I'm using fresh thyme. Not even gonna chop it. I'm just going to pull it off the stem and go straight into the pot. Just like so. I don't want the stem, so you might want to do this over your cutting board and then add it. But if you feel confident like me, you work over the pot. Okay, rice milk. Now, we are going to add some of the rice milk, and then we're going to take some of it and make a slurry. What is a slurry? It's taking a liquid and a agent, cornstarch in this case, could be flour, and it is going to be our binding agent, okay? So I'm gonna make a slurry by taking some of my cornstarch, and I'm gonna add some of my rice milk. Now you could use water, but I like to be consistent with what I'm doing. So why use water when your liquid in the dish is rice milk? If I was using stock, I would make it with the stock, all right? So we're always building flavor when we're cooking. Now, the trick with adding a slurry is you add a little bit at a time, because if you add too much, you get paste. Like it'll just thicken up on you and you'll be looking at a hot mess. I'm gonna just turn this up just a little bit more because I don't wanna add the slurry until this comes back up to a boil. But in the meanwhile, I'm gonna add my edamame. I love edamame. Edamame. I love saying edamame. Give it a little stir. Pop the lid on. Give it a minute. Woo. So now, lift the lid, we got some rolling going on, which is exactly what we want. I'm gonna adjust the temperature down just a little bit, and I'm going to slowly add some slurry. So you add a little bit, and then you wait a few minutes and see how thick your product becomes. In the meanwhile, I'm gonna season it. So I like a little celery seed in my pot pie. Celery seed goes in. I'm gonna add a little black pepper. And a little bit of salt. Now I could tell by the way it looks in terms of consistency. Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. I need to add a little more slurry to it. I want it a little bit thicker than that. So I'm just gonna add a touch more. And you wanna stir it in. Now we're talking. Slow the heat just a little bit. So, just by that little bit that you saw me add in, now you're looking like a pot pie. Okay. Because this is the type of dish where you're gonna put it in something to bake it in, put a crust on top, you wanna make sure your seasoning is perfect before you put it in your crust and before you stick it in the oven. So I'm just gonna check for salt and pepper, check for my herbs and spices. I'm gonna add just a touch more salt. So what I love about this, in using the squash, it has like a little bit of a natural sweetness. You know, you're gonna get that from the butternut squash and the acorn squash and the parsnip. Not overwhelming, but just a little bit. It's really cool. I like it. Herb. I don't taste the thyme like I want to, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more to it. And at that point, we're ready to go. Now, as I said, I made a crust earlier, and I pre-baked the bottom crust. I'm going to add this mixture to my dish. That's a lot of veg, so now I'm just gonna make sure that we have enough liquid. Uh-oh. This is an induction burner. It doesn't like when I do that, so I'm gonna move that. Inside, liquid, more veg, and number 3. Hold it up here. Liquid. Yummy. All right. Bring it out front. Let you see what I'm about to do. Put the crust on top. So I cut one short, and I cut one to go over the side, or I cut 2 to go over the side. And I just did that because I wanted to see how it was going to come out in terms of the finished product, how it's going to look. If I wanted to see a little bit of the bubbling goodness, or if I wanted to completely cover it. So we'll see how this comes out when we pull it out of the oven. Into the oven we go. That'll be done in about 10 minutes. Again, you don't have to worry about the recipes because it's all on the website. So the actual measurements, timing, etc. All right, let's get ready for that. So we always say the proof is in the pudding. Let's see how the pot pie came out. Oh, Dr. Akua! It's time to take it out of the oven! Now,
Oh, that's lovely.
it is bubbling. Bubbling goodness.
That looks good.
Does look good, right? Now again, it's not traditional. So that crust is not gonna look like golden brown because there's no butter in it.
Oh, okay.
Okay? but it's done.
Right? You know, and I've never have done pot pies small, individual servings. Usually it's the whole pie. So I think this is really cute.
Yeah.
And different.
Well, you know, one of the things that we always talk about is portioning.
Oh.
Right?
That's a good way to control the portion.
Okay.
And to make sure that you get enough to be satisfied.
Right.
And warm and fuzzy.
Don't
and not too much.
don't overconsume. So.
That's beautiful. That one, where we didn't fold the crust over,
You can see
all the
and
vegetable
that
goodness.
and that was the point.
And to my point again, lots of color.
Yes.
Because we always teach that every color in the produce rainbow corresponds to a different set of nutrients. So without being a nutritionist and knowing that's for lycopene, that's for beta carotene, you're feeding your organ cells and DNA.
Well, that's deep.
Just by eating the color.
That's
So
deep.
that's beautiful.
Okay.
Can I get to taste it?
You do.
All right.
But I got a little surprise for you. Now,
Okay.
Doc was talking about putting a topping on the pot pie, something I'd never heard of. But
Yes.
when Doctor asks for something, I try to accommodate.
So you made a topping for the pot pie. What is this one?
This is pomegranate, which is good for you, right? I mean,
Yes.
you could talk about all the.
Pomegranate is packed with antioxidants, great for the brain, immune system, so many good things. And you'll put that on.
I'm going to
the
put
pot
a
pie.
little topping of pomegranate chutney
Chutney.
on
Because
top.
I was saying I wanted a pot pie that had like a sweet, tangy topping on top of it. You're like, well, what can I do with that? And you,
Not something that I'm used to, but here we are.
I thought that savory with a sweet, tangy. would
I
be
hear you.
delicious.
Well,
So-
there you go.
and you have more color. That's beautiful.
And we do have more color.
Yes.
All right. So this one, since it's cracked,
Okay.
I'm going to give you just a little sampling with a little the chutney. It's hot, so
Okay.
blow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That is good.
I'm interested to
That
try
is
this.
really good. That's really good.
Why she sound surprised? Like,
No.
it's like I just started doing this. Like,
No.
what is that?
No, I love food. Food makes me really happy. So that is good. And that pomegranate on top, that little bite,
That's what you're looking for?
the crunch from the seeds. Come on now. Is that good?
I mean that is.
You
that
did
is-
that. That's good.
That's pretty good.
You did that.
I got the thyme. The thyme's playing off the pomegranate.
That
Like,
is really awesome.
whew.
So once again, I know this recipe seems long and it can feel daunting. But when you watch chefs do it, you see that it really didn't take that long.
It didn't.
But he really broke it down into steps and into stages. Like you said, you took that breath,
Right.
just did it, have your music going,
Yep.
drink your wine, and then enjoy a beautiful
Voila.
vegetable pot pie with pomegranate chutney. Can we name it after me?
Of course. What are we gonna call it? So go ahead.
Akua's chutney.
Akua's chutney.
There you go.
For now on, pomegranate chutney will be known as Akua chutney.
We're going to claim that today.
Done.
Yes, done.
All right.
Thank you.
My pleasure.